to be.
Well, in addition to that, I'm pretty sure you had a significant hand in putting together a lot of the music that the Basement artists recorded. So can you go back in time and explain to us what the recording process was like?
Recording process. You know what? It was an interesting process. It wasn't just like, D or Timberland, whoever would go on. The basic process would be this. Tim would be working on something, D would be working on something. They would hear it. They would give it to Static and Black and all those guys. And what they would do is take that track, go listen to it, and come up with something hot. But it wasn't just one guy writing. It was always a collective. You always had this, this creative tapestry of, all the guys in the room together, sitting in there listening to this track and inputting on it. And, for Static, he was a real melody guy. He wasn't just, he would come up with music for me. If you got the right person to sing it, he's the guy who comes up with music that's around for a lifetime and not a lunchtime. But, a normal day for us, we get in probably, 1, 2 o'clock, fire up the music, Static and the guys, he and the guys would be sitting in the room together. They start clowning each other for a while, just to get their heads right and, getting their head in the day. Listening to the track, somebody would come up with something. They'd go in the room, sing it to D or Tim or whoever it was in there, lay it down. Static would generally go in and lay in the reference track to it, play it for D, later on that day, because we had 3 or 4 studios going on. So he'd come upstairs, lay something down for Timberland, run downstairs, lay something down for D, and just keep bouncing back and forth, throughout the day, because we constantly had stuff going on all the time. So it wasn't like he was just in one session. He was in multiple sessions, throughout the day. And, that's pretty much how it rolled. And you just go from day to day to day. He'd lay down stuff for Dalvin. He'd help him with, even on the Jodeci albums. He helped him on that stuff.
Wow. Where did those different bass and drum patterns come from that became a new sound of R&B that the Basement developed? Like, who was particularly responsible for that? Because, when Genuine and all them came out with their first albums, you heard a new sound that was never heard before.
Yeah, a lot of that was a collection between Tim and Devontae. Clearly, again, D always picked the cream of the crop talent, and that's evident now because you see those guys out there, doing their thing. But it was a collective between Devontae and Tim coming up with these things, and they go in the studio, lay these beats down. D would come in and tweak some things for Tim, and vice versa. It would just be a collective operation going on from day to day. They come up with these things, and that's really why we got away and left. The reason you heard that new sound is because it was the vision of D to go up there and get away, so we could come up with something new, so we could come up with something fresh that sounded like nobody else. It was kind of similar, like to when Teddy Riley came up with the New Jack Swing sound. Everybody was copying that.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing. This was the product of the Basement up there. We went up and shut ourselves off from everybody else, wasn't listening to nobody else's music, really. We were just pulling, from within. And that's how that sound was birthed up there.
Wow. So what was like recreation time for you guys in the Basement? Like, do you have any stories, memories, maybe incidents that were either good or bad that involved Static and the rest of you guys?
You know what? Not really anything bad at all. What we did mostly, believe it or not, it wasn't, that exaggerated. Like I say, every now and then we'd have some big parties, but for the most part, our recreation time was just kicking back, turning off the music, and everybody just hanging out together like a big family. That's what made us so tight up there. It was more of a family than it was a record company, believe it or not.
Okay.
And we just enjoyed being around each other when we weren't working. We would just come out, hang, chill. The biggest, I guess, outings we would really have is all of us would go out on the boat on the lake, ride the jet skis, hang out, go do our thing, and come back. It really wasn't, so extravagant, not like we were, just, renting out the Ritz-Carlton or renting out clubs every weekend to have parties and that type of thing. We just, folks, yeah, it's just real intimate, kind of a setting there for us. I mean, it's just like a really tight family up there together that, more than anything else, we just like being around each other and chilling.
Okay, okay. Now, is there any info or insights about the basement that the fans are totally clueless of, haven't heard about, or maybe have gotten certain information twisted that we might not know about? Like I know from talking to different people in the basement, they would tell me like different people would come through through the basement back when they weren't even superstars or big stars. They were just in development. People like Suge Knight, Mary J. Blige, Mike Tyson would come to the basement. Things of that nature.
For sure. Now, see, there's an interesting story with Mike. When Mike first got released from jail that first time, I guess, mid '90s, early '90s, he came out and hung out with us, and real cool story. I mean, he's a real cool brother too. He came up because he and D were really tight. They hung, talk on the phone, and even while Mike was in jail, they'd still stay in communication.
Right.
So Mike pops up one day and comes in, and he's talking to D, and he says, just whimsical kind of a guy, just off the cuff, just real impulsive. Hey, let's everybody go out to eat. So he gathers up the whole basement, everybody. Loaded everybody up into his limo, and then we took some of D's cars, because everybody couldn't fit in there. Went to a restaurant, locked the place down, and everybody ate and just chilled. And he hung out for the night, and just a lot of cool stuff. I mean, Suge Knight absolutely would come through. He was very, well, I wouldn't say prominent, but very, very much a part of what we were doing up there, because he and D were very, very tight, really close friends, and did a whole lot of business together. But I mean, that's just one of the things off the top of my head I can think of. If anything else comes up, I'll go back to it. But right now, that's just one of the memories of, Mike being there. And well, I remember one time, I take that back. I remember one time we went on a really big vacation. He, loaded up everybody, and we went down to Virginia Beach, and he took everybody down there for a break just to get them out of the studio. And I think we did lock down a club down there, and I think he had a few people perform, and just went down there, and I don't even think they knew we were coming, but went down there, had a party, talent show thing, because he was actually still looking for more talent, and decided to throw a talent show down there, and we locked out a floor on the hotel down there, jet skiing the whole thing, hanging out on the beach, and I believe, Playa did go. They did go with us down there. That was one of the other big things we would do. Anytime there was, any expensive deed, and he wasn't the kind of guy like he wouldn't spend the money on the artist and then try to recoup it. That was just out of love. He would just spend his own personal money just to have everybody fresh.
Wow.
And, just take him out. It wouldn't show up on some kind of recoup report later. Hey, we spent $50,000 down here on you, so we're going to need that back out of your money once you start selling. No, it wasn't like that. Like I say, it was just, more of a family type business thing that we were doing up there.
Okay. I want to kind of get into the music side of what Playa did in the basement. Now, from all the tracks that were made and everything that you witnessed, what was your favorite Playa track, new or old, released or unreleased?
Oh man. Yeah, I have to say that Gin and Juice was my favorite. I mean, I still listen to that now, because they wrote on that. It was the one done for Dangerous Minds, and for me, because it was you had all three of them on there, and I can still recite the Static's part there and Black's part. I mean, it was just our two favorite parts. Like me and D, when we were cutting the video, because I actually edited the remix video for it. And me and D, we would always rewind it back to Static's part, because it was just, he was just ill with it. And if you realize in that video, Static was one of the more, gifted artists, I believe, in D's mind as well. I might be wrong. I might, be saying the same thing, but in my mind, he kind of saw him as one of the more gifted, talented guys, because as you see, he was the guy that was D's right-hand man in that video. And I believe on the record that, to my knowledge, that's the only video of them together, of them doing any music videos together. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that's the only one.